There's something fascinating about accidental deaths in amusement parks. These places are supposed to be havens of thrills, entertainment, wonder, and awe, creating fond memories and bringing smiles to faces. But sometimes, a day at the park turns into a life-ending nightmare. We're talking about horrors that render Final Destination and 1,000 Ways to Die mere jokes. The terrifying accidents in today's video go beyond natural disasters, shady deep-fried delicacies, or rigged carnival games. No, these are some of the most unsettling, scandalous, and terrible incidents to occur at theme parks, amusement parks, and water parks over the past few decades. Some are well known, while others are obscure, but they are all horrific. From the gruesome beheading at Schlitterbahn to the mysterious case of missing feet at the Tower of Power ride, these incidents haunt the history of amusement parks. Join us as we unravel the 10 most horrific incidents that continue to haunt the history of amusement parks. Number 1, the gruesome beheading. Usually, when we envision accidents in the park, our minds mostly imagine roller coasters and drop towers, primarily due to their heights. However, have you ever imagined a water slide that is 169 feet tall? Yes, that was the height of Verrückt, a water slide at Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City that dropped riders down a nearly vertical 17-story chute at nearly 70 miles per hour, propelling them up an incline and down another. It was the world's tallest water slide, aptly named Verrückt, German for crazy, and it truly lived up to its name. Anyways, the slide was the brainchild of Schlitterbahn co-owner Jeff Henry, who, along with the park's senior designer, John Schooley, designed and built it. Neither man had any background in mechanical engineering, but they shared a goal to construct the biggest, fastest water ride on Earth. After 2 years of construction and safety testing, mainly through trial and error process with sandbags, the pair opened Verrückt to the public in 2014. Perhaps the most shocking part of this story is that it took 2 years for someone to perish on this outrageous contraption. The unfortunate victim, 10-year-old Caleb Schwab, met a particularly gruesome end. The raft Caleb was riding in went airborne on the rise after initial drop. Despite Verrückt featuring netting to prevent riders from being ejected, Caleb struck a metal support and was decapitated. His head and body landed in the water chute, sliding down the rest of the way and coming to a halt in a pool at the ride's base, where Caleb's brother and mother awaited. What a horrifying demise. The guests following Caleb suffered facial injuries, likely from his decapitated head colliding with them. It was a horrific scene. Despite the recklessness of the ride's designers and the fact that Caleb was the son of a Kansas state representative, no one was ultimately found criminally liable for the tragedy. Number 2, Terminal Velocity's tragedy. Verrückt was bad enough, but when it comes to amusement rides that are unmistakably death traps, Terminal Velocity at Extreme World in Lake Delton, Wisconsin may have been the worst. The ride hoists guests to the top of a 100-foot tower only to drop them through a trap door, with no safety harness in place and nothing but a net and some airbags to cushion the fall. The risk was astonishing. What's even more astounding is the absence of a fail-safe mechanism to prevent a drop if the net wasn't secured or the airbags weren't fully inflated. The operator on top merely awaited a signal from below to release the riders, leading to a grim anticipation of what was to come. In July 2010, 14-year-old Tegan Marti experienced the terrifying reality of this flawed setup. Due to a miscommunication between operators, the net and airbags failed to deploy in time, resulting in Marti plummeting 10 stories to the ground. Miraculously, she survived, but the impact left her severely injured. Marti endured brain swelling, severe spinal and pelvic fractures, and intestinal lacerations, requiring years of arduous rehabilitations just to regain the ability to walk. In a rare turn of events, the ride operator was eventually convicted of felony reckless injury, though the punishment amounted to a mere fine. Surprisingly, the park's owner escaped legal repercussions altogether. Number 3, the Mindbender Horror. One intriguing aspect of horror accidents is the sense of impending doom that often precedes them. The Mindbender held the title of the tallest indoor roller coaster globally, located within the largest mall on the planet. It's as if the stage is set for something inevitably to unfold. So what really happened on the Mindbender at Galaxyland June 14, 1986? In 1986, the West Edmonton Mall in Alberta, Canada, was the largest mall in the world. The roller coaster contained within it, the Mindbender, was the tallest indoor roller coaster in the world. I'm not sure that a roller coaster inside a mall is a good idea anyway. Regardless, it became a major attraction twice over, and its attendance numbers reflected that. Some hundreds per hour for decades. But only 4 passengers were unlucky enough to be flung from the ride, 3 of them to their deaths. Due to a combination of faulty design and improper maintenance, on June 14, 1986, a car detached from the coaster track. Its restraints opened and 4 passengers were launched to the concrete floor of the mall. 3 died, and a 4th surviving passenger, Rod Chaco, has unsuccessfully lobbied for decades to have a memorial to his unlucky fellow riders placed in the mall. Number 4, the deadliest roller coaster accident in history. Out of 30,000 to 45,000 accidents at theme parks each year, roller coasters account for 70% of them. It's no wonder we often associate roller coasters with horror. London's Battersea Park was the site of the most deadly roller coaster disaster in history. The Battersea Fun Fair is arguably the world's first theme park, predating Disneyland by 4 years, and its biggest attraction was the Big Dipper, a huge wooden roller coaster that had been operating since 1951. The park was crowded on May 13, 1972. UK schools had just ended their term, so the Big Dipper was crammed with children and teenagers when the accident happened. The coaster's train was pulled up the initial hill as it had been countless times before, but this time, just as the cars full of kids reached the top of the hill, the hauling cable snapped. The train rolled backwards down the tracks, and its emergency braking system failed. The cars picked up speed and went whipping around a curve where they derailed, piling on top of one another. Or, as one child witness put it, most of the people on the back all got crushed up because it came down backwards. Ultimately, 5 children died and 13 people were injured. The ensuing investigation concluded that almost everything was wrong with the coaster. There were a total of 66 defects on the ride, including missing brakes, a poorly maintained haul rope, rotted wood, a misaligned track, 50-year-old coaster parks, and drunken or drugged ride operators. Both of the ride's engineers and manager were brought up on criminal charges, but ultimately acquitted. Number 5, the Big Dipper accident. It seems we can't get enough of horrifying roller coaster accidents, can we? The deadliest roller coaster accident in American history occurred at Krug Park in Omaha, Nebraska, on July 24, 1930. A bolt came loose in the park's sole roller coaster, the Big Dipper, causing 4 of its cars to fly off the track and plummet to the ground. The cars fell 35 feet, and 3 of the 4 landed face down. 4 people died, and another 17 were injured, making it the deadliest crash in the country. The incident led to the city of Omaha to ban all roller coasters, sealing the fate of Krug Park, which closed within the decade. Number 6, the ghost train catches fire. Deviating from roller coasters, there are many things you can imagine to cause a horror accident in an amusement park, like a bad operator, a loosened bolt, lack of maintenance, and probably expired, old, and weary machinery. But fire? Nah, not really. To put it into perspective, fire has caused less than 10% of amusement park horror deaths, mainly because of sprinkler systems installed in amusement parks. However, on June 9, 1979, in Sydney, Australia, Luna Park's indoor ghost ride caught fire, resulting in the death of 7 people, 6 of them children. As the park had never installed a sprinkler system, the fire burned the entire ride to the ground. To this day, the cause of the mysterious fire remains unknown. Approximately 35 people were riding a train through its spooky interior track when the fire started. whether due to an electrical accident or, as later claimed, an arson attack by a mob boss, a fire broke out. Though staff noticed the smoke and began pulling guests out of the ride, they couldn't reach all of them before the fire grew too large, with the park being understaffed and the nearest fire hose unable to reach the entirety of the ride. 7 lives were lost, along with the train itself. Number 7. The Haunted Castle Fire Tragedy. Have you ever wondered why laws mandating amusement parks in the U.S. to install sprinklers and smoke detectors was passed? Let me tell you the story of the most deadly theme park accident in history. It occurred at the Haunted Castle in New Jersey's Great Adventure Amusement Park on May 11, 1984. Around 6:30 p.m., a fire broke out in the maze-like walk-through attraction. It was reported that a 14-year-old boy, who was never identified, accidentally ignited some padding while using a cigarette lighter to navigate a dark corridor. At the time of the fire, there were 29 guests and costume employees trapped in the burning maze. With few exit lights, no sprinkler system, and no smoke detectors, the fire spread rapidly through the plywood and foam attraction. Within minutes, the entire structure was engulfed in flames, resulting in the deaths of 8 teenagers. In the aftermath of this tragedy, laws requiring sprinklers, smoke detectors, and other fire prevention methods were implemented across the country. Despite a trial where the theme park's representatives argued that the fire was arson and that further safety precautions wouldn't have saved lives, no one was ultimately held criminally liable for the deaths. Number 8. Drowning deaths in Disneyland's river. There's a persistent rumor that no one dies at Disneyland. According to the story, in the event of a fatal heart attack or accident, vigilant Disney employees quickly shuttle the victim out of the park so the death certificate never reads Disneyland. However, reality sometimes intrudes on even the most carefully crafted myths. In 1973, an 18-year-old man's tragic demise shattered this illusion. He and his 10-year-old brother decided to hide on Tom Sawyer Island after the park closed. The plan worked, but a few hours later, they attempted to swim back to the park proper. Taking his brother on his back, the man attempted to swim across the River of America, but it was too much for him and he slid under the water. His younger brother dog-paddled around until Disney cast members rescued him. A decade later, another tragedy unfolded in the murky waters of the Rivers of America. During Disneyland's annual grad night, a teenager, fueled by alcohol, recklessly commandeered an inflatable boat from a restricted area of the park. His impromptu joyride ended in disaster as he lost his balance and fell into the water, succumbing to its depths. Number 9. The Orlando Freefall Nightmare. Imagine falling from 430 feet to the ground. Now, consider the added horror of weighing 383 pounds. This nightmare became a grim reality for Tyree Sampson. On March 24, 2022, the 14-year-old visited Orlando's Icon Park with his football teammates, eagerly anticipating a ride on the Orlando Freefall, billed as the world's tallest drop tower. Freefall lifted riders 430 feet into the air before hurtling them downwards. Despite being nearly 100 pounds heavier than the ride's posted weight limit, Sampson was strapped in by ride attendants. The ride operated as promised, but tragedy struck during deacceleration when Sampson slipped out of his harness, plummeting to his death. A guest captured the horrifying incident on their phone, and the footage quickly circulated online. Subsequent investigations revealed that while the ride was mechanically sound, Sampson should never have been permitted to board. Weighing 383 pounds, he far exceeded the ride's weight limit. Shockingly, the ride's operator had apparently loosened the safety harness and overrode the warning light, enabling Sampson to board despite the obvious risk. Number 10. The Missing Feet. It doesn't always take a horrifying death to terrify you. Sometimes, non-fatal accidents leave you chilled in a way that a horror death could not. This was certainly the case for 13-year-old Caitlin Lassiter, who survived an accident on Kentucky Flag's Kentucky Kingdom Superman Tower of Power ride. Yes, she survived, but her feet did not. On June 21, 2007, Caitlin boarded the Tower of Power, a drop tower ride that simulates a 154-foot fall. Shortly after the ride began, one of its cables snapped. While the other passengers sustained only minor wounds after being struck by the cable, Caitlin wasn't as fortunate. The cable wrapped around her ankles, shattering her left femur and holding tight as she plummeted, resulting in the severance of both of her feet. Fortunately, doctors were able to reattach her right foot, but her left leg, which was more severely injured, had to be amputated below the knee. And that concludes today's episode. Thank you for staying with us until the end. If there's an amusement park incident you think we should have included in our list, please feel free to share it with us in the comments below. While you're there, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up to show your support. Don't forget to check out our previous video on 10 horror movies that were based on real-life events. Click the link in the description to watch it now. And always remember to be vigilant at amusement parks. We'll see you in the next episode.